On a hot summer's day in August 2015, onlookers watched in horror as a Hawker Hunter T-7 aircraft crashed while trying to perform a loop manoeuvre at the annual Shoreham Airshow. To make matters far worse, the pilot didn't crash into an empty field, but a busy road. Over 10 people lost their lives that day, marking the UK's deadliest airshow accident in over half a century. But what exactly happened? Let's talk about it. This is the infamous Shoreham Airshow crash. Shoreham is a coastal town located in West Sussex, England. A feature in the late summer months for many years was the Shoreham Airshow, hosted by the Royal Air Forces Association at the Brighton City Airport, more commonly known as Shoreham Airport. The event started back in 1989 and acted as a fundraiser for the RAFA Wings Appeal, a fund that supports both serving and former RAF personnel. By 2015, the event had successfully raised around £2 million for the fund. The 2015 show started like any other. It was a warm summer's day, with the sun shining and a crosswind reaching around 17 miles per hour, fairly typical Shoreham weather. It was a 2-day event, and by midday on August the 22nd, spectators had already been treated to displays by various aerobatic teams and an RAF parachute display. At 12:30, it was the 1950s Hawker Hunter T-7's turn to give a good showing. The two-seat aircraft was piloted by 51-year-old Andy Hill. The former RAF instructor had over 12,000 flight hours and was a frequent participant in air shows across the country. His plane for the day, the Hawker Hunter T-7, had been involved in air shows since 1998, but long before then, the aircraft was popular amongst the RAF in the 1940s and 1950s. This particular plane made its first flight in July 1955, before later transitioning into a display aircraft. Andy took off down the airstrip, pulling the Hunter into the sky to start his part of the show. He started by flying low along the runway, going from south to north, before turning back and doing the same in the opposite direction. Andy then climbed a height of around 200 feet and began pulling an inside loop as he neared the airport. However, this was not nearly high enough to pull off the manoeuvre. Before Andy could complete the move, the Hunter ploughed into the A27 westbound carriageway. The impact caused the plane to tear into 4 sections right before the damaged fuel tanks ignited, causing a massive fireball to go up in the air. This was followed by an ominous plume of smoke. The cars that had been in its path had no time to react before they were either crushed by the aircraft itself or consumed by flames. In total, 8 vehicles were destroyed. Emergency services rushed to the scene, finding 16 people with injuries that needed treatment. Unfortunately, there was nothing more that they could do for the 11 people who had already passed away in the crash, 2 of whom were Worthing United football players. Shockingly, Andy Hill survived thanks to the ejector seat, which threw him clear of the plane. However, he was in serious trouble. Andy was airlifted to Royal Sussex County Hospital, where he was later placed in a medically induced coma. The airshow was called off immediately, and the A27 remained shut for over a week following the accident. In the aftermath, a temporary ban was placed on all Hawker Hunters in the UK, grounding them until further notice. Now, it was the Air Accident Investigations Branch's job to come in and see what had gone so terribly wrong. A team was dispatched to Shoreham and put out an appeal for anyone with footage from the incident to send the clips to them. Due to the amount of people in the area, the team was gifted with many angles of the crash. Since the plane was not fitted with a flight data recorder, these videos were crucial in establishing what led up to the crash. By September 4th, the AAIB had not found any abnormalities in the aircraft itself. They said, throughout the flight, the aircraft appeared to be responding to the pilot's control inputs. The next update came on December the 21st, when the AAIB revealed the aircraft's ejection seat carriages had passed their expiry date, making the aircraft technically non-compliant. It turned out new ejection cartridges had been ordered at the start of 2014, but only arrived 2 months before the airshow. Instead of fitting them then, the maintainer decided that they would be replaced in February 2016 for the next inspection. In January 2017, they released their final report, revealing the cause of the crash. It was put down to pilot error. Andy had attempted a loop while too low. Aviation expert David Lamount stated that this sort of manoeuvre should have been started at 500 feet at a speed of 400 miles per hour to reach 4,000 feet at the top of the loop. However, Andy had started at just a height of 200 feet, reaching only 2,700 feet. Meanwhile, the Sussex police opened a criminal investigation into the accident. Once Andy was released from the hospital in September 2015, he was questioned by detectives, but there was not much they could do until the AAIB had released their official report. When this happened in early 2017, it set the ball rolling once again, and on March 21st, 2018, news broke that Andy Hill was being charged with 11 counts of manslaughter by gross negligence, and 1 count of endangering an aircraft. Andy pleaded not guilty to the charges and was released on bail. The trial was adjourned until January 2019. Mr. Justice Edis presided over the case, and on January the 15th, a jury of 8 women and 4 men was selected from a pool of over 50 potential jurors. On January the 17th, they were shown accident footage that had not been yet released to the public, with the prosecution telling the jurors that this was not the first time Andy Hill showed a bad attitude with regards to safety and a disregard to the rules. Andy's defence placed the blame on G-Force, saying it had temporarily incapacitated him during the flight. The next phase of the trial saw the jurors travel to Gatwick Aviation Museum, where they got the opportunity to see a Hawker Hunter in person. They were even allowed to sit in the cockpit, and had experts from both the prosecution and defence explain their side. The trial wrapped up on March the 8th, 2019, when Andy Hill was found not guilty on all 11 counts of manslaughter by gross negligence. It had been a unanimous decision by the jury after 7 hours of deliberation. Mr. Justice Edis then acquitted Andy on the count of endangering an aircraft. Throughout the trial, relatives of the victims lost in the crash had sat in the gallery listening to the proceedings. When the verdict came in as not guilty, many of the families were devastated. With his name cleared, Andy spoke outside the court and gave a statement, reciting all 11 of the victims' names and saying, "I am truly sorry for the part I played in their deaths, and it is all I will remember for the rest of my life." However, the story didn't end here. The trial didn't mark the end of Andy's time with the authorities. Just days after the crash, a coroner's inquest had been opened in West Sussex. It was adjourned while the AAIB and the police continued their investigation. When charges were filed against him, the inquest was further delayed and set for September 2020. However, the pandemic meant this, too, was postponed, and a date was given for 2022. It resumed on November the 30th, 2022. Andy requested that the coroners rule out the verdict of unlawful killing, but the coroner rejected this request. In December, the coroner stated that the victims had, in fact, been unlawfully killed, going as far to call Andy's flying exceptionally bad. As of today, we are still waiting for further progress in the inquest, and will likely see some movement in the coming year. Since that dreadful day, the Shoreham Airshow has not held another event. Andy lost his pilot's licence in the aftermath, something he is reportedly trying to get reinstated, but the relatives of his victims have stated they will do whatever they can to prevent this from happening. As for whether we will see justice for the victims, or whether it truly was a matter of G-Force at play, we will have to wait and see. Hopefully the inquest will go ahead and bring some much needed closure to the loved ones of those lost. As soon as I hear any more information, I will let you all know. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. What do you think was the cause of this accident? Should Andy have been blamed? And do you think that will happen in the inquest? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching.